Good morning, Chavra. Today we're going to study Tanya on page 69 in Chayenu. Today is Friday, the 28th of Adar. In today's lesson, obviously we talked about the superiority of action-based mitzvahs, tzedakah, mekareves, sagiula, tzedakah being far superior than all the others because there's so much else that goes into it, not just pick up your tefillin, put them on, put them down, and then move on. Obviously, each mitzvah has its individual significance, but above even tzedakah is Torah study. When we learn Torah, it's super unique that A, it involves and affects the higher inner faculties of the soul. B, it stems from Hashem's mind, so to speak. And C, oh, there is no C. We'll have to see what C is. We see, at any rate, that charity tzedakah is superior to all the other mitzvahs, including Torah study. But one may object, the Masham Rebbe Sein is a claim of bracha, Talmud Torah kineged kulam. I thought Talmud Torah was superior, right? How can we say tzedakah is higher? So let's unpack this. Hainu b'nei Talmud Torah hi dibur machshava shein levushi hapnimius shel nefesh hachayunis. When you give tzedakah, you give with your hand and you move on, right? Obviously, all your keiches that go into it, and that's why it's so special. That's why it's so important. However, when you study Torah, it employs speech and thought. You have to think about what you're learning. Tzedakah, you don't have to think much. Take out your pocket, give whatever. Usually, you think about it after a little bit or before a little bit. But during the actual moment of giving, it's not much thought process. Actually, it's better if you don't think too much. Meaning, give as much as you can, but don't think about it because it'll, So only Torah study and no other mitzvahs can suffuse the inner garments of the Torah of the soul with the light of Torah. V'gam, furthermore, the very substance and essence of the faculties of your knowledge and your wisdom and your understanding of and taking the klipas nega of the nefesh habahamis are actually absorbed into holiness once one studies Torah with concentration and intelligence. Listen, that same mind that wanders off could be elevated with the study of Torah when you're thinking about learning the words of the Torah that you're learning. Good Shabbos, everyone. Good Shabbos. Although the Beinani is incapable, the Beinanim, plural, are incapable of mastering the substance and essence of the Midas, which is Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, and so on, so as to transform them into holiness. This is because we cannot completely transform it. Why? Because the evil of Klippa is stronger in the Midas than in the Chabad, Chochma Bin Adas, the intellectual faculties. Since on that level of Midas, the Klippais, draw more vitality from holiness than they do on the level of Chabad, as is known to the students of the Kabbalah. Okay, now we have a new concept, that the shattering of the vessels, the Shviras HaKelim, which gave rise to the existence of Klippa, occurred primarily in the Midas, and it is therefore more difficult to elevate the evil of the Midas. The evil of Chabad, however, can be transformed through intensive Torah study. So certain things cannot be undone, but the mind can be transformed through intensive Torah study. So we have two reasons for the superiority of the mitzvah of Torah study. A, it's practiced with the innermost soul garments, which is thought. And B, it transforms the actual soul faculties of Chabad, which transform themselves, which we are able to transform into Kedusha holiness. Zois, ve'oid acheres, ve'hi ha'oila al kulana, ve'malos esek talmud Torah al kol mitzvahs. Let's give you an incredible insight into why Torah study is superior and above and beyond all the other mitzvahs. Pimasha nisker le'el b'shein atikunim v'namach bikudin hein ramach evodein demalka. Based on the statement of the Zohar, the Holy Kabbalah, that 248 positive commandments are the 248 limbs of the king. Concerning Torah, however, it's written in Tikkun Zayar, Torah and Hashem are one. Unlike mitzvahs, which are limbs, the Alter Rebbe now elucidates the difference. So, just like when you put on tefillin, it's like your arm. You can live without your arm, but your mind, your brain, that's a part of you. You can't live without it. If you had a brain transplant, you'd be a completely different person, right? Some people need one, but anyway, just a side note. And I guess it's even further than that. When we do a mitzvah, we connect to God's limbs. But when we learn Torah, we connect to the essence of God. What would we rather? God, I just want you. I don't want an extension. I don't want something that you could live without. Not to belittle the limbs of the king, but you want the essence of the king. So as for example, in the case of a human being, the vitality, the energy in his 248 organs, there's no comparison or similarity to the vitality in his brain, meaning the intellect, which is divided into three categories, Chachma, Bin, and Das. A regular person, again, Rahman al-Islam, if somebody needs to lose an arm, you don't want to, but they can still live a very productive life. But the brain, there's no replacing. Even a heart you could replace, right? So, which means your emotions you could change completely. But the brain, that brain that you were born with and that you thought, used to think with when you were a kid, that's coming with you no matter where you go, no matter what you do. That memory, that's yours to stay, baby. I mean, once in a while you can, work things out and change the way you think, but it's still the same person. You can grow and mature, but that brain is your brain. So exercising. So too, by way of an analogy, and we say lahavdo because you can't compare a human to Hashem, obviously, but in regard to the Oid and Seif, the light of Hashem, which is clothed in action-based mitzvahs. So when you compare the illumination of the Oid and Seif in the Chabad faculties of one immersed in the wisdom of Torah, which is an illumination commensurate with the level of each man's intelligence and grasp of Torah. So it's one thing if you do a mitzvah, we're all on the same level. We're putting on tefillin the same way the greatest scholar of today's generation puts on tefillin. You can't buy gold tefillin and put them on and you're on a higher level. We're all doing the same mitzvah, lulav and esrog. You take that branch and you take that fruit and you shake it all around, you do the hokey pokey, and then it's the same mitzvah pretty much. But when it comes to Torah study, we all have different depths of knowledge. We all have different capacities of intellect, right? So one person can understand something a lot deeper and a lot greater, and his mind is sharper, and he's able to grasp more, and right? To the extent that his intellect grasps the Torah, which he studies, it's united with Hashem's godliness, with the unity comparable to one, that of one's intellect with his soul. So herein lies the superiority of Torah study over other mitzvahs, even over tzedakah. Give tzedakah, it's the same dollar. I don't mind. The poor person doesn't care if it came from you or it came from him or it came from him. It's the same dollar bill I'm going to buy food with. When it comes to Torah study, it's a much higher level, and there could be a higher level of unity with God because we can keep going up and up and up, higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. Even if we're on Atzilus, which is such a high level, Eitzel HaKadosh Baruch, within Atzilus, there are myriads and myriads of levels. I'm sorry. Although when you're learning Torah, we're only learning it based on physical terms. We have words and we're able to understand. That's why Siddur and Torah brings mishalim, parables, based on examples that we could understand, that we could relate to. Because the true essence of Torah is way beyond. That's God. It's way beyond us. Yeah, Torah has been likened to water. What's water? Water descends from a very high place, and it always finds its way to the lowest place. That's why we had to redo the roof, because no matter how many patches you put, it'll always find the hole somewhere. But that's not a good example. The point is that coming down the mountain, the water is always going to come down. Torah trickles into every crevice and every nook and cranny. So the water on the lowest level is actually the same as on the highest level. So when we learn a basic Torah thought, you would think, oh, I'm learning it. It's so low all the way down here. It came down. Yeah, but it's connected all the way up the stream till the top, till Hashem. And even as I say this, we're using another muscle. So, so on the spiritual level, we're connecting to the unity of godliness. Maybe that unity is watered down, so to speak, dumbed down so that we can connect to it, but it's really all connected all the way up because everything is really Hashem Echad. So if we want to connect to Hashem, we learn Torah. And even though we understand, we were learning before about the kosher and the oven and this and that, and you're like, but that's Torah. So we're connecting we're uniting with Hashem when we do that. And as we learn and as we grow and as we understand more and more and more, we go up higher and higher and higher. Oh, here's the source of the water. No, there's more. Wait, there's more. Wait, there's more. We'll never really get to the top because it's impossible for human beings to, at some point, our intellectual capacity and ability runs out, and this concept will be explained further. Okay, so the studying Torah is extremely impactful. It changes your inner consciousness, your mind, the way, I can tell you, if you have a week that you don't go to Shir and you don't learn Torah, you're on vacation, you're working, everything's busy, you can feel it at the end of the week. You can feel it Begashmias and certainly Berufnias, right? Steve doesn't know what I'm talking about because he doesn't miss the Shir. But I'm talking about for the rest of us. So for me, whatever, maybe I'm speaking for others also. When you're into learning and you, not just in the morning, but the basic that you have to do in the morning and the evening, but you pick up a sefer. Instead of just hanging out all Shabbos afternoon, we have a lot of time now. You open up a sefer, you review that which you learned. Oh, last Shabbos before Mincha, I was reviewing from the Shir Monday night, and I went over it. Thank God it's all written out beautifully and clearly and concisely from the Shulchan Aruch that we're learning, and there's a synopsis in English, and you review it, you just feel like a different person. So it affects you spiritually, it also affects you physically. Then you become a Torah mind and a Torah speech. You become connected with Hashem. So that's it, Chaver. It's a very, very special Shabbos. Shabbos Chazak, Shabbos of strength, Shabbos Mevorchim, Shabbos that we bless the month of Geulah. And it's Pekudei, so we read the Torah and we finish what? This concept? Guess what? We're not even finished the parak. Chaver, have a good Shabbos. I love you all. I'll see you Mitzvah and Shul. We got to set up the Shul again. It's going to be great. If anyone wants to come and help out, please. All right, we'll see you soon. We have a big Kiddush this Shabbos, huge Kiddush.